My name is Nina, and for almost 2 years, my husband told me the same sentence every time I asked about his ex. She's just a friend. Stop being paranoid. He said it so many times I started to feel embarrassed for even asking. He rolled his eyes, called me jealous, and said I was threatened by history. I tried to believe him. I tried to swallow my instincts. Until one day, our 4-year-old son came home, climbed into my lap, and repeated a nickname I had never heard before. A nickname my husband used to call her when they were together. And just like that, everything I'd been trying not to see became impossible to ignore. This is how my husband's friendship with his ex almost destroyed our family and how my own child accidentally told me the truth. My husband Daniel and I have been together for 7 years, married for 5. When we met, he was charming and attentive. He asked real questions, remembered little details, and made me feel like I was the only person in the room. On our 3rd date, he told me about his ex Ava. They dated for 4 years in their early 20s, almost got engaged, then broke up. It was messy, he said. But we grew up, moved on, and now we're cool. She's actually dating someone else now. We talk sometimes. At the time, it didn't bother me much. I had exes too. I believed people could be friends with their past. When things got serious between us, I asked him, "Is there anything unfinished there? Anything I should know?" He laughed. "Absolutely not," he said. "Ava and I are history. You're my present and my future. We got married. We had a son, Malik. We built a small, noisy, beautiful life. For a while, I forgot Ava even existed. Then she came back like a shadow on a sunny day. It started with a message. We were on the couch one evening, Malik asleep, a show playing in the background. Daniel's phone lit up with a notification. I happened to see the name on the screen, Ava. I didn't say anything at first, but my eyes followed his hands as he picked up the phone, smiled at the screen, and turned it face down. A small, tight feeling started in my chest. Later that night, as we were getting into bed, I asked casually, "Hey, do you still talk to Ava?" He shrugged. "Sometimes. She DM'd me today. Just checking in about an old friend." "Why did you turn your phone over then?" I asked. He smirked. "Because I knew you'd react like this. You get weird when you see her name. I didn't want drama over nothing." I hated that he used the word drama. It made me feel childish, unreasonable. "I'm not trying to start drama," I said quietly. "I just don't love the idea of you having secret conversations with your ex." He rolled his eyes. "Secret? I told you we talk. You're overthinking." Again, I went to sleep with that little knot in my chest. Over the next few months, I noticed patterns. His phone would light up late at night. He'd smile at the screen and tilt it away. If I walked into the room, sometimes he'd quickly close a chat. When I asked who it was, he'd say, "Relax. It's just a friend from back in the day." Back in the day. I started paying attention. One afternoon, I was folding laundry while Malik played on the floor with his cars. Daniel was in the kitchen taking a work call, but I could hear the difference in his voice. Work Daniel was clipped, focused, a little stressed. This Daniel was laughing softly, voice lower, warmer. I heard him say, "Come on, you know I'm always going to be honest with you, you crazy woman." Then, a second later, all right, good night, sunshine." My hands froze over the clothes. Sunshine. We had never called anyone Sunshine in our house. Not Malik. Not me. I felt that now familiar squeeze in my chest. When he came back into the room, I asked, "Who were you calling Sunshine?" He blinked, then laughed. "Relax, Nina. It was just an expression." "Do you call your boss Sunshine?" I asked. "Or your male friends?" He rolled his eyes. "Why are you always listening to my calls?" Then, with that same tired sentence, "She's just a friend. You're reading too much into everything." We started fighting more. Not screaming, but that low, cold arguing that eats at you slowly. I'd say, "I don't feel comfortable with how often you talk to her." He'd answer, "You don't own my past. Stop trying to control me." Every time he made it about my insecurity, my jealousy, my lack of trust. I began to wonder if I was the problem. I even talked about it in therapy. My therapist asked, "What do you feel when you bring this up to him?" "Small," I said. "Like I'm crazy. Like I'm trying to take away his freedom." She nodded. "And what do your instincts say when you're not arguing, when you're alone?" I stared at the carpet. My instincts say something is off. She looked at me calmly. Your feelings are not proof, she said. But they are information. Don't ignore them just because someone else is uncomfortable with them. I told Daniel I wanted a little more transparency. Let me meet her, I suggested. If she's really just a friend, let's have all of us. You, me, her. Grab coffee. I think it would make me feel better. He recoiled immediately. Absolutely not, he said. That would be so awkward. I'm not fusing my past and present into some weird triangle for your comfort. Well, then at least show me the messages, I said. Not all the time. Just once, so I can see the tone. He shook his head. That's a violation of my privacy. I'm not a child. If I have to show you my phone to prove I'm innocent, this marriage is already broken. There it was again. If you need proof, you're the problem. I backed off. Life got busy. Malik started preschool. I took on more hours at work. Daniel picked up overtime. We moved like two people running next to each other, passing batons of responsibility, barely looking up. Then came the day everything snapped into focus. It was a Saturday. Daniel was working a long shift. Malik and I spent the day at the park, then stopped for ice cream on the way home. He was in the back seat, swinging his legs, humming to himself. Out of nowhere, he said, "Mommy, do you know Sunshine?" My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I kept my voice light. "Sunshine?" He chirped happily, Daddy's friend. He says, "What's up, Sunshine?" And she laughs. And she calls him... Daniel had called me mi amor when we first dated, when he wanted to be cute. He hadn't used it for me in years. I swallowed. "Where did you hear that, baby?" I asked, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. "At the pizza place," Malik said. We saw her. Daddy hugged her and they talked. I was eating French fries. She had yellow hair and he said, "Don't tell Mommy, okay? It's our little secret. The world went silent around me. Don't tell Mommy. It's our little secret." I pulled the car into a parking lot and parked, hands shaking. I turned around to look at my son. "Malik," I said softly, "are you sure Daddy said, 'Don't tell Mommy'?" He nodded, serious now, sensing my change in mood. "Yes. He said you'd get mad because you get mad a lot." That last part stung in a different way. I took a deep breath and forced a smile. "Thank you for telling me, baby," I said. "You didn't do anything wrong." When we got home and Malik was busy with his toys, I went to the bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. I replayed his little voice in my head. "Do you know Sunshine? She calls him mi amor. Don't tell Mommy." I felt nauseous. Something inside me turned from fog into steel. I picked up my phone and did something I'd never done before. I went through our shared bank account. There it was. A charge from a pizza place on a weekday afternoon when he was working late. 2 movie tickets on a day he told me he needed alone time at the gym. A rideshare receipt to a neighborhood nowhere near his job. I opened our phone bill. Multiple long calls to a number not saved in his contacts. The same number at midnight, 6 a.m. and lunchtime. I typed the number into WhatsApp. A profile popped up. Ava. Her profile picture was her in a sundress, sunlight behind her, smiling the way someone smiles when they think they're safe. My hands shook, but my mind was suddenly clear. I didn't confront him right away. I did something I had learned from every story I'd heard. I gathered proof. I took pictures of the bank statements. I screenshotted the phone log. I wrote down what Malik had said, word for word, with the date and time. I didn't have access to Daniel's messages, but I had patterns, money trails, and a child's innocent testimony. Sunday evening, Daniel came home smelling like cologne. He kissed Malik, kissed my cheek, and asked, "How are my 2 favorite people today?" I watched him carefully. "We had a good day," I said. Malik told me about someone. Sunshine. For a brief moment. Less than a second, his eyes widened. Then he recovered. He laughed. "He's so funny," he said. "Kids make up the wildest stuff." I kept my voice calm. "He said you told him, 'Don't tell Mommy. It's our little secret.' He said she calls you mi amor." His jaw tightened. "Nina, you know kids mix things up. Maybe he heard something on TV. You're really going to build a story from a 4-year-old's imagination." I stared at him. He also said you hugged her at a pizza place, I said. And I checked. You were at a pizza place that day. You told me you were at work. He bristled. You went through my transactions? Yes, I said calmly. And our phone bill. And I know you've been calling Ava almost every day. I know you saved her under a fake name. I know this isn't just friendship anymore. Maybe it never was. His face hardened. You're spying on me now? He asked. This is controlling. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. Because you overreact. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You didn't tell me because you knew it was wrong, I said. Otherwise you wouldn't be asking a child to keep secrets. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried a different tactic. We're just close, he said. She's going through a rough time. I'm her support. You know I have a big heart. Not everything is about sex, Nina. I looked at him steadily. If it's so innocent, I asked, why haven't you introduced us? He hesitated. Because you're jealous, he finally said. You would make it weird. My voice dropped. You already made it weird. You made it weird when you turned your phone over, when you called her Sunshine, when you told our son not to tell me, when you let our child carry your secret. He ran a hand over his face. You're blowing this out of proportion, he muttered. Something inside me snapped. I stood up. No, I said. For 2 years, I swallowed my feelings so I wouldn't blow things out of proportion. I let you call me jealous and paranoid. I let you make me feel crazy. Now, for once, we're going to sit with reality. We argued for hours. He admitted pieces in small doses. Okay, yes, we met a few times. Okay, yes, we hugged. It was emotional. Okay, maybe there was some flirting. But every time, he insisted, we never slept together. It was just emotional, just conversations. Just old feelings. He said just so many times the word lost its meaning. I realized something painful, Phila. Even if he was telling the truth about not having sex with her yet, he had already crossed a line. He had given her intimacy that belonged to our marriage. He had given her time, secrets, emotional energy, and dragged our child into the lie. I told him I wanted space. You can sleep in the guest room, I said. I need to decide what I'm willing to live with. He looked genuinely scared for the first time. Nina, come on, he said. This is our family. You're really going to throw everything away over phone calls. I answered quietly. I'm trying to figure out if you already threw it away for me. That week was heavy. We moved around each other like polite strangers. We talked about schedules, school drop-offs, groceries. We didn't talk about Sunshine. One evening, about a week later, my sister came over. After Malik went to bed, she said something that pierced me. When you talk about him and her, she said, you sound like you're trying to convince yourself more than anyone else. What do you actually want? I stared at my tea. I want the husband I thought I had, I said. The one who would never use our child to hide something, she nodded. And you can't have that version of him anymore, she said gently. You only have this one. I realized she was right. A few days later, Daniel suggested couples therapy. We can fix this, he said. We just need better tools. Communication, trust exercises. I agreed to go, not because I was sure I wanted to stay, but because I wanted a neutral room where the words "you're paranoid" wouldn't be enough to end the conversation. In therapy, he tried his usual lines at first. She's always been insecure, he told the therapist. I've never cheated on her. She just doesn't know how to handle me having female friends. I stayed quiet, let him talk. Then I said, our son came home and repeated a secret nickname he heard. Our son knew more about his father's social life than I did. That's not about friends. That's about betrayal. The therapist didn't take sides. But she did say something that put things into clear words. She looked at Daniel and said, regardless of whether there was a physical affair, you built a separate emotional world with Ava that excluded your wife. Then you recruited your child to protect that world. That is a deep breach of trust. He looked stunned. For the first time, someone other than me was naming it. We did several sessions. He cried, apologized, said he'd cut contact with Ava. He changed his number. He showed me his phone voluntarily for a while. But trust is not a switch you flip back on. It's a slow rebuild if you decide to rebuild at all. People sometimes ask, did you stay? The answer is, For now, yes. But not because I forgot. I stayed because I saw real effort over time. I saw him sit with his guilt instead of running from it. I saw him tell Malik, in an age-appropriate way, "Daddy shouldn't have asked you to keep a secret from Mommy." That was wrong. Grown-ups should never ask kids to do that. I saw him cut off not just Ava, but the part of himself that needed to keep one foot in the past. But something fundamental changed in me too. I don't gaslight myself anymore. If something feels off, I don't swallow it just to keep the peace. I don't let your paranoid be the end of the conversation. Because the day my son repeated that nickname, he didn't just expose his father. He reminded me that I wasn't crazy. That little voice inside me, the one I kept shushing, had been trying to protect me all along. If you're with someone who keeps telling you she's just a friend, or you're imagining things while hiding messages, turning screens away, and asking kids to keep secrets, pay attention. Healthy friendships don't need late-night secrecy. They don't need hidden names and phone logs. They don't use your children as shields. And the universe has a funny way of loving the truth. Sometimes it comes out of the mouth of a 4-year-old in a car seat asking, "Mommy, do you know sunshine?"